A lion does not bury another lion. A herd of antelope steps over its dead. Someone in your group has died. You stand over the body in the cool half-light, and the others gather behind you, quiet. For almost the entire history of life on this planet, this moment ends the same way. The body is left where it lies. The living move on, and the world takes back what is left. But you do not move on, you dig. Stop and think about how strange that is. A lion does not bury another lion. A herd of antelope steps over its dead and keeps grazing. In nature, a corpse is just meat and bone, food for the next animal down the line. Letting it lie is the normal thing. It is the efficient thing. And yet somewhere deep in your past, your ancestors looked at a dead body and decided it deserved something more. Why would a hungry, struggling, danger-surrounded creature spend precious time and energy on someone who could no longer hunt, gather, or fight? Why bury the dead at all? Travel to a range of limestone hills in northern Spain called Atapuerca. Deep inside one cave system, at the bottom of a 13-meter vertical shaft, lies a place archaeologists named Cima de los Huesos. In plain terms, that is Spanish for the pit of bones, and the name is honest. From that single pit, researchers have recovered thousands of fossil fragments from at least 28 different individuals. Here is the part that stops you. Those bones are roughly 430,000 years old. They belong to a human ancestor that lived long before our own species existed, and they all ended up at the bottom of the same deep shaft, in the same hard-to-reach spot. The paleoanthropologist Juan Luis Arzuaga has spent decades studying that pit. The bodies did not wander down there. They did not get washed in by a river. The most likely explanation, argued by the team that excavated it, is that other members of the group carried their dead to the edge of that shaft and dropped them in. On purpose. And there is one more clue. Among all those bones, there is a single beautiful hand axe carved from rare pink quartzite, unlike anything else at the site. The researchers nicknamed it Excalibur, one stone tool far finer than the rest, resting among the dead. It may be the oldest object ever placed with the dead that we have found. 400,000 years ago, a creature that was not yet, you was already treating death as something that mattered. So sit with that question again. What does it take for a brain to do this? It takes something enormous. It takes the ability to understand that the person in front of you is gone and is not coming back. It takes memory, the capacity to hold the absent in your mind. And it takes a feeling we now call grief. Burial is not really about the body in the ground. Burial is about the mind of the one holding the shovel. Now move forward in time, and the story gets richer. In a cave in the Zagros Mountains of what is now northern Iraq, called Shanidar, an archaeologist named Ralph Selecki uncovered the remains of around 10 Neanderthals in the late 1950s and 60s. Neanderthals were not us. They were a separate kind of human, our close cousins, strong and big-brained, who lived across Europe and the Middle East for hundreds of thousands of years. One of the Shanidar skeletons became world-famous. When his colleague analyzed the soil around the body, she found dense clumps of flower pollen. The interpretation was breathtaking. These Neanderthals, supposedly brutish and simple, had laid their dead to rest on a bed of wildflowers. Now, you should know that scientists later challenged this. Some argued the pollen could have been carried in by burrowing rodents or insects rather than mourners. That is how science works. A beautiful idea gets tested, and sometimes it bends. But the deeper claim held up. A team led by archaeologists including Emma Pomeroy and Graham Barker returned to Shanidar and in 2020 reported a new, carefully positioned Neanderthal skeleton from the same spot. The body had been deliberately placed. Whatever the truth about the flowers, the Neanderthals of Shanidar were handling their dead with intention, again and again in the same special place. Think about what that means. A different species of human, one that eventually vanished, felt the pull to care for its dead too. The impulse to bury is older and wider than our own kind. Then your species arrives, and the burials become unmistakable. Go to a cave called Qafzeh, in what is now northern Israel. There, Early members of Homo sapiens were buried roughly 90 to 100,000 years ago. In one grave, a young person was laid down with the antlers of a deer placed across the chest. In others, the bones carry traces of red ochre, a natural pigment. People were not just hiding the dead. They were decorating the moment, marking it, making it sacred. And the energy poured into this only grows. Travel north to a site called Sungir, near the city of Vladimir in Russia, around 34,000 years ago, deep in the Ice Age. Here, archaeologists found some of the most astonishing burials in the entire human record: an adult man, and nearby, 2 children laid head to head in a single grave. They were not buried with nothing. They were covered, head to toe, in thousands of tiny beads carved from mammoth-ivory. The children's grave alone held something like 10,000 of them. Researchers have estimated that each bead may have taken close to an hour to make by hand. Do that math. You are looking at thousands of hours of labor by skilled people in a frozen world where every hour mattered for survival, spent entirely on the dead. Why? Why would starving, freezing people stop hunting long enough to thread 10,000 ivory beads for 2 children who could never wear them in life? Here is the counterintuitive truth at the center of this whole story. Burial was never really for the dead. The dead feel nothing. Burial was for the living. When you bury someone, you are telling yourself and everyone around you that this person was not just a body. They were a member of the group, with a place that does not vanish the instant their heart stops. The ritual binds the survivors together. It says, we remember, we belong to each other, and one day, someone will do this for you too. That is why this matters so much for understanding who you are. For a long time, people searched for the one thing that makes humans special: tools. Other animals use tools. Fire. That came and went across different human species. But the careful, deliberate, symbolic treatment of the dead may be one of the truest signals we have of a fully human mind. A mind that can imagine the unseen. A mind that can love someone enough to mourn them when they are gone. There is one last, strange chapter. In a cave system in South Africa called Rising Star, a team led by the paleoanthropologist Lee Berger found the remains of a small-brained human relative they named Homo Naledi. The bones lay deep inside an almost unreachable chamber, down passages so narrow that only the slimmest people can squeeze through. Berger argues that these bodies were deliberately placed there, carried into the dark on purpose. It is fiercely debated, and the evidence is still being tested. But if it holds, it means a creature with a brain about a third the size of yours may have cared for its dead too. The pull toward burial might reach back even deeper into our family tree than anyone guessed. So look at the whole sweep of it. From a pit of bones 400,000 years old, to Neanderthals in a mountain cave, to ivory-covered children in the Ice Age, the same quiet act repeats. The dead are gathered. The dead are kept. The dead are honored. And you still do it. You hold funerals. You carve names into stone. You keep a photograph on a shelf, visit a grave, say the dead person's name out loud years later. You spend money and time and tears on people who can no longer thank you for any of it. When you do, you are not inventing something new. You are answering a call that is older than your species, older than language, maybe older than fire. Someone in your group has died. You stand over the body in the cool half-light. The world, by every rule of nature, says to walk away. And you do not walk away. You never have.